What you're about to see is simply horrifying, because there are things you can do anywhere else in the US, but you just can't do or say on the Hawaiian Islands. And as someone who witnesses all the terrible mistakes committed by tourists every single day, I'm covering the top 10 of those hidden social rules that I personally learned it the hard way so you don't have to. And I'll be ranking them from kind of okay to do to the most terrible mistake you never want to make, y'all. And let's begin with the first one. And mistake number 10 is to not be respectful to the locals and their properties. Bro, y'all know that tons of people live here, right? So you can't just go into someone else's house and toss away any trash all over and pretend it's your own place, okay? Even in public spaces, bro. Don't just toss away stuff. Listen, if you see the islands as nothing more than a big amusement park, and I don't know, you treat the local residents like moving attractions and follow them around like some sort of creep to take pictures, and like not even try to support the local mom and pop stores when you should, then maybe you're the problem, okay? Hawaiians are inviting you, bro. The key word is inviting you into their beautiful territory to spend time to learn about the local traditions and also have the best vacation. Don't you think it's the least we as tourists can do to not destroy everything so nobody needs to clean up after we all travel away? And one of the first things my local friends told me was to never take away any of the sand and rocks as souvenir, as everything you see in nature also belongs to nature, unless it's trash. In that case, you can probably take that away. But that's only the first thing among many others that you should never do, just like not subscribing to the channel if you love the video so far. And even worse, not respecting the ocean, bro. I'm saying the ocean is no joke. Like, I grew up in a small beach town. You won't believe how many people I saw who went into the ocean unprepared and then went straight to the hospital because the teeny tiniest wave happened to tug them from behind. Like, you think human body is like invincible or something? Well, a small wave from the ocean can hit you from the back so hard, bro, you literally go unconscious in seconds, man. You know there's a good reason so many lifeguards gotta be stationed at all time. Hawaii is not Disneyland. The nature is unpredictable, and going to swim without checking the conditions or seeing if there's any lifeguard around is definitely the mistake you never want to make for your trip. And you gotta remember that if there are no locals in the water, it's probably for a safety reason. But if the locals are in the water, that doesn't mean it's safe for tourists. They know how to save themselves, but most of us don't. So you gotta be careful. But now that we got that out of the way, mistake number 8 is actually one of those that you see all the time, but some people just don't even know how terrible it is. And that is to drive super slow under the speed limit with a massive line of cars stuck behind you just so you can enjoy the view. Bro, did you not know that others have to go to work and they have places to be? Okay, I know the view is gorgeous, but please don't become a massive pain on the road just because you want to do some sightseeing. Also, don't honk your horn and don't cut anyone off in traffic. Maybe it's okay to do that in New York City or something, but here, you just gotta follow the rules, man. And I just saw this a while ago, but please don't stop in the middle of the highway because you see something you want to see, bro. Just pull up the road instead of causing the whole traffic to stop for you. But if you've been here, you've seen that kind of driver already. But mistake number 7 is the one that didn't used to be an issue until Hawaii became this crazy popular destination, especially for international visitors, and that is to not tip when you should and also tip too much when you shouldn't. So one of my European friends brought her parents here to travel, and like they outright refused to tip for anyone. Bro, because tipping ain't a thing for them back home. But you also gotta tip the right one, okay? Because a lot of the local small businesses that you see, well, guess what? They ain't got no billion of international money behind their back. So there's no need to hesitate to tip if that's the case, bro. And mistake number 6 is to waste any water. And there's a good reason for that too. Since Hawaii is basically a bunch of small islands with incredibly limited resources, especially when it comes to fresh water, bro. You might not see it on the news every day, but there's a genuine water crisis where a great chunk of that water is used up by the tourism business rather than on residents and natives, okay? Just because the place is surrounded by nothing but water doesn't mean you get enough enough fresh water to go around. Another thing worth pointing out is the cost of living crisis, where prices are insanely high while salaries remain low, with many locals choosing to move to LA or SoCal. So you definitely want to check up on the local news before your visit. Also, you might have seen the crazy amount of posts on social media saying, well, do Hawaiians welcome tourists? And from what I know is they do, as long as you're good and don't do anything crazy. But mistake number 5 is where things are about to get messy. Cause trust me when I say that you don't want to tell the locals how lucky they are to live here. Cause you think they spend every day at the beach and every weekend skydiving, being on helicopters and snorkeling around, etc. As if nobody has to work or something. There is a general sense of, but you live in a paradise, you don't get to complain kind of hostility on social media towards the local. And I just want to be fair and say that most of us coming here, we are tourists, right? So I don't think we're in a position to judge anyone and their personal struggle. And one of the worst things you can say, I believe it has to be, hey, it must be awesome being homeless here. Bro, last time I checked, you can't eat the ocean, you can't eat the scenery, and being homeless is no fun anywhere. But to get the most fun out of your trip in Hawaii, you have so many places to visit, but if you plan to take any of the buses or trains, then you'll want to make the next mistake, and that is not getting the holo card. Now the numbers may not be the same depending on when you're seeing this video, but tapping on and off is simply way easier than trying to grab the change out of your pocket in a hurry. And they also have discounts for seniors and kiddos. There's even a daily cap for the bus fare, like $7.50 or something. So after a few bus rides, the rest are literally free for the day. And mistake number 3 you don't want to make is to go off trail when hiking and go beyond your limits. So you guys remember at the beginning, I talked about the danger of the ocean? Well, you can say the mountain is even worse. They get a lot of rain, so it tends to be very slippery. And going out your way to find a secret hidden hiking trail when you can't even tell directions and know nothing about safety never ends up being good. Remember, you're out in nature, not at Disneyland, okay? So if a sign says no entering beyond this point, then it mostly means something bad already happened there. And it's better to be safe, right? Also, you gotta keep an eye out for anyone you're traveling with. And now we're at mistake number 2. And you know what? For a travel destination where water activity is like a big major thing, I don't know how anyone can even bring themselves to do anything this horrible. And that is harassing the wildlife. If you're supposed to stay X amount of feet away from a sea turtle, that's not a friendly reminder, that's a rule. Don't get too close for a picture, bro. And if they tell you not to feed and pet the animals, well, that means you do nothing, okay? And you know how some of the sunscreens nowadays are like friendly for the reef and sea animals because they ain't got crazy chemicals in them and whatnot? Well, then maybe use it instead of your typical sunscreen. But nothing will ever be more horrendous than the biggest mistake that everyone keeps making, and that is mistake number 1, to not completely relax and enjoy yourself, bro. I bet you've seen it over and over how so many will come here, still worry and argue, talk about work and getting that promotion, like with all the big city stress and stuff, bro. What's the point of a vacation if you're just gonna let yourself be miserable and stressed? I'm pretty sure that the last thing the locals need is another tourist rushing to see everything on a tight schedule, completely stressing themselves out, and probably breaking all the traffic rules along the way. If you want to bicker with your wife or husband or family or kids or whatever, bro, do it back home. People don't need to see your drama. You're in the paradise, y'all. The best thing you can do is to allow yourself to enjoy the vacation you totally deserve. I believe there was one time I was getting my takeout, and like a couple out there argue so hard, everyone pretty much came out to see what's going on. You don't want all that negativity in your trip, so you also wouldn't do that to others. But in the next video, I want to show you what shocked me the most about life back in the US after I went away to Japan for a few years. Bro, some of the stuff I found was simply crazy, and you can click on the video to find out what they are.